Hi everyone, Darren from the Gaming Pilgrimage here, and welcome to the second installment of this new reboot relaunch of the channel. This is the second installment where we are going to be talking about Ace Combat 7. I just wanted to apologize to everyone for the 2-week delay. It's my fault, and it's this guy's fault.
Why?
This is Ace, my new puppy, and puppies are a lot of work, and so I haven't had time to stream because of puppy.
Wow. You're literally blaming on your dog.
I'm blaming it on me for getting a dog, and then the dog for being the dog.
I also do blame you for getting a dog. I was like, why?
To be fair, I've had so much fun. He's a great little dude. He's on my lap. Love me, my new best buddy Ace.
Wow.
So today I am joined by the ever sarcastic Gaming Blues, also known as Andy, longtime friend, sometimes editor on the channel here on the Gaming Pilgrimage. Andy, where can people find your content? Because I've been part of your content as you've been part of mine in the past.
Well, it's kind of sad. I got ousted by your dog as a best friend position, so I am Darren's second best friend next to his dog. You can find me Twitter at Last Blues. YouTube, you can search Last Blues as well. Podcast, you can search the Gaming Blues podcast on your favorite podcast platforms. Darren always joins me for those episodes, except the ones I do for esports, because Darren doesn't give two craps about esports.
I always join you, except for the ones I don't.
Yep. Coincidences, just saying. All right, let's get this started.
Andy, you're already being recognized for FE8.
FEA, so many deaths. I know. I'm that guy who, what was his name? I made friends a great night. I am that guy.
Yeah,
I'm the greatest.
You have a little bit of infamy in the Fire Emblem community. So
I have sacrificed my own sanity to bring people entertainment by making him a great night. What more do you want?
That cost us a lot in the end.
Most viewed episodes in your playthroughs. Check it.
But so today we're going to be talking about what I think is one of the absolute best games from this current, soon-to-be past console generation, Ace Combat 7, which I think is an absolutely phenomenal game. Remember the adage, planes are rad, war is bad. So we're going to be talking about that today. Both Andy and I both played through the game. Andy, I played through on PC. I believe you did as well.
Yep.
It is available for, I believe it's exclusive to PS4 and PC. I don't know if it had an Xbox One release.
I don't think so.
Because it was there's a lot of features that are tied to the PlayStation 4 version, like an exclusive. Oh, it came out for Xbox One as well. So it's out for all major platforms and Switch, because this game would probably not run on Switch very well.
I mean, that hasn't stopped Nintendo from releasing like AAA games on the Switch.
Yeah, it definitely has not. So
can you imagine with tilt controls though? That'd be sick.
I mean, it could reasonably work.
Fire missiles when doing this.
I mean, you'd probably have to take a lot of handles for that. So,
dude, you hold a joystick and shit like that.
So Ace Combat 7, believe it or not, I believe it's the 20th entry in the Ace Combat series.
That's a long ass time for this.
So the Ace Combat games have been around since the 90s. There's been tons. It's basically a halfway point between like a simulation, which in the 90s, plane simulation games and piloting games were all the rage. And this sort of fuses like arcade style 90s action of like your oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of there's one other major, I guess it's not major anymore since it's more or less defunct, but Sega had a plane flying game. I think it's like, it might actually just be Top Gun Arcade.
Maybe
what I'm thinking of. But there's other games like Ace Combat, but this is like a fusion of like the super arcadey, over the top style infused with the madness of like a simulation. So, in Ace Combat, you get like hundreds of missiles on a plane. Real planes can't hold that many missiles because they're super fast and don't have that much space.
Really? I thought this game was supposed to be super realistic,
I mean, it has those elements that contribute it. So The Ace Combat development team is known as Project Aces. They've handled the development for every major game in the series. Before 7, the series went on a weird bender where it was trying to get like the Call of Duty crowd. It had a game called Ace Combat Assault Horizon, which some of you may be familiar with since it was a relatively commercial success and it reviewed decently well. Critics were like, ooh, the planes automatically lock on and I can just shoot and not fly. This is great.
And there's like kick-ass dogfight mode where it zooms in and shit, all cinematic.
And you don't have to like play the game. It's great.
It's autopilot.
It also does not take place in the Strange Real setting, which is, I believe it's from. So I have the games that take place in Strange Real, which stands for Strange Real World.
Oh my god! Really?
Yeah.
My eyeballs are just shocked.
Yeah, I mean it's Japanese development team. You know, it sounded cool. It probably sounded cool to them.
Strange Real.
Strange Real World. Terribly offensive. I apologize. But
too bad.
Point being, of the various Ace Combat games, only Ace Combat 0, Ulysses, 1994, FX04, Asteroid Impact. Oh no, this is the timeline. That's not the games. So
I was gonna say like that's a
no Ace Combat 0, Ace Combat 4. 4 was the first game. No, 3 was the first game set in Strange Real, but 3 is weird because 3 is set in the very distant future of 2040.
Darren, since we already did it anyway, can you pronounce that Ulysses one in a Japanese voice, please?
Ulysses. Oh, I'm trying to remember off my head the 1994 in Japanese.
You can say it in English.
1994, XF04, Asteroid Impact. Yeah,
we're so canceled.
Yeah, we're done. So basically 4, 5, 6, 0, 7, and 3 all take place within Strange Real. And 3 takes place in 2040 in the very distant future and is kind of just its own thing a little bit.
None of this is real. Yes.
Very
true. It's strangely real.
So this game was actually a pipe dream. No one thought that we'd get Ace Combat 7 because Ace Combat 6 came out exclusively for the 360 and it didn't do all that well. It was a near launch title and it did like okay, but it did not recoup development costs. And that's why they took the different direction with Assault Horizon and the game was so radically different.
I heard fans were pissed off with Assault Horizon.
Hardcore fans hated it. And then they also made a remake of Ace Combat 2, but they did it with like the Assault Horizon setting. Also, I'm just going to put down my dog because he is being a little feisty.
That sounds weird. You mean put down on the ground?
On the ground.
Yes, don't say put down your dog.
He wants to sleep on the ground. He's too warm.
Yes. You should be more contextual.
Yes, I'm putting him on the ground.
There you go. Oh my god, this is horrible.
But so Assault Horizon, very weird direction, and people lost hope that there would be a true follow-up to Ace Combat 7. Or Ace Combat 6 with 7. But they released a game, I believe it was around 2014, where it's Ace Combat Assault Horizon. Ace Combat Infinity. Sorry.
God damn, there's a lot of games.
Yes. Like I said, there's like over 20 games in the series. So
also, just to correct you, 20 games, but 25th anniversary.
Yes. So Ace Combat Infinity was a free-to-play game where it's like largely multiplayer focused, and it also had a couple of bits of like PvE. And essentially, it was like a freemium game where you needed to buy a lot of currency to buy good planes. And it was super successful to the point where Bandai Namco was like, you know what? Sure, make 7. You haven't made a game in like 6 years, but sure, go for it.
I mean, why not?
So
there's a demand for it.
Yeah, they put I think the development team really put their hearts and souls to like make this the best Ace Combat game, but being like, this is it. This is the shot. This is the only time we get it. And it pretty much, when they dropped that trailer, it kind of came out of nowhere and everyone was like, oh my god, Ace Combat. And as far as I understand, Ace Combat 7 has been largely successful. It's been reviewed pretty well. And
Hmm.
even people who traditionally don't like these type of games tend to be pretty favorable with this one.
Like
And
me.
I specifically brought you on board because I thought there's elements of the game, like the very over the top military story and
Hmm.
just the tone of the game, like how everyone views you as this like god of war as
Hmm.
this happens throughout the series. So if you go back and play 4, same type of thing. Initially everyone kind of shit talks you and then they're like, "Oh my god, like you're Jesus in a plane." And they will be like, just like in this game, your character's call sign is Trigger, and everyone says stick with Trigger if you want to live.
Do you like that name in retrospect?
I think Trigger is one of the better call signs. In
Hmm.
5 it's Blaze, and I'm like, that sounds kind of like early
I think
2000s edgy.
I like Blaze better than Trigger
I
though.
like Trigger seems more Top Gun to me.
I seem so like it seems like cliche to oh you gotta your trigger you gotta pull the trigger. I was like that kind of stuff. Like Blaze, like at least you can go down with a blaze of glory kind of thing, you know.
I don't know, my
Like what about
favorite call sign is Mobius 1, which is the character from 4.
that's super nerdy.
It is super nerdy, but it sounds cool, and he is considered to be like the best pilot ever in universe, and he's you in the game.
Mm.
So fans have a big attachment to him because that's the first time that you really got a character that got a call sign like that.
It
And
seems like they can't really do protagonist call signs, but all the rival call signs are like super cool.
yeah, they're really cool. So
Mistakes.
this game is set in Strange Real. This takes place after, you
Hmm.
guessed it, Ace Combat 6. This happens
Oh,
3 years later. And the whole game is centered around a sudden war from Erusia, who are longtime bad guy nation in this setting. They are the main antagonist of Ace Combat 4, and I believe they're involved in a lot of the spin-off games as like
hmm.
having antagonistic forces. They use drone technology a lot in this game.
A lot.
That is basically like what their war effort is hinged on, and they declare war on Osea, and you are part of Usia, which is I believe is the closest equivalent to the United States.
Yep.
And you're basically part of a international peacekeeping force, and your job is to stop this war effort. We probably aren't going to go into the story much more than that. We'll probably talk about it here and there, but the
Hmm.
story is pretty forgettable outside of like a couple points, unless there's anything you really want to go into about the story right now.
I would say as a first timer who like this is my first baby's first Ace Combat. Like holy crap! Like listening to the story at the beginning, I was super confused. Like Eurasia attacked Osia, then you're from Eurasia, then you're going to war to take back Osia from the Eurasia. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
It would have been really helpful if they just had the map and were just pointing out all the countries and being like, "You're
Yes,
here, good
flags help a
guys."
lot.
Because there are maps, but they don't ever like really get into it. They go, "Here's Usia," or here's Osea. See, even I'm confusing it, and I've played the other
Yeah.
games.
Well, here's the continent of Eurasia, and here's Osia and the Invade. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But if you keep going back and forth between the Xias, at least like have like a differentiating name, you know. But
Yeah.
then again, it's just me casual complaining. But go on.
So Ace Combat in the past has done some interesting storytelling devices. Particularly in 4, it introduced this style of all the cutscenes are dedicated to a character who's not you. It's dedicated to a little boy
Mm,
who's living in a town that's affected by the war.
right.
And the whole cornerstone of that story is him interacting with the rival team, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The rival team is stationed in his town, which is called the Yellow Squadron, and that's their name. They're like, "Oh, the
Yeah.
Yellows, get out of there!" Yeah, doesn't have the greatest connotation, right? But
No, not really.
but essentially, it's like his relationship with that team, and then you get intermixed with it because you start killing them in
Mhm.
missions. You start taking them down, and that starts to change elements of the story, and it's interesting. It's an interesting change from just having like a flat out, you're the perspective character, here's the story, which this game does as well, but it has unlike having just like the little boy in 4 who's your point of view character, this game
Mhm.
has like 4.
Yeah, I would say 4.
You start off with Avril, who's like this mechanic
Avril Lavigne,
girl,
Skaterboy.
and never again.
I have so many nicknames for people.
Yeah, she's like the main point of view character, but she's definitely not the main character.
I honestly thought I was playing like I was controlling her in the game at the beginning. I was like, oh shit, I get to play as a cool like pilot girl, like sick. I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, it's
What is happening?
it'd be confusing. So, but I think the real story comes through with like the mission dialogue, where people
During the
talk to
briefing,
you and you get to see like other people's personalities, and it's basically the idea of like codec conversations that happen over gameplay. And that's where the main story comes from. And you get like a lot of interaction with a variety of different squadron mates. Like you get a lot of interaction with your wingman Count when you're part of the Penal unit.
I just love. I still like the sound of that name, Penal Unit.
Yeah,
Go.
I
Go
mean,
on.
I like how it's called the 444 Squadron. It's just 3 4s. All right, Andy. So for the majority of this episode, since gameplay is king in Ace Combat, we're pretty much just going to talk about the missions. We're going to go down one by one.
Hell yeah.
And we're going to go through it. So at first, the first set of missions, you are part of the Yuuzhan Peacekeeping Force. So this is your USA-styled international peacekeepers trying to stop the war. To answer that question, chat, we each have done a playthrough outside of this episode. I only streamed part of mine, but in the future, definitely could be a thing. Would probably be streamed in the future if that would be a thing.
If you want to see me suck at it, do please tune in. Although I gotta say, I did pretty well on my first playthrough.
Well, actually, before we get into all the missions, I want to ask you this, because I find this to be really true of most games in the series. The game initially is like difficult to me. Like when I first started playing this game, is because I hadn't played like 4 or 5 in years prior to this game. And I was rusty as hell. And it's like, oh my God, like I'm getting shot down, crashing. Like this is rough. But by the end of the game, I felt like a total badass.
Yeah, I got the same feeling too. Initially, I didn't really die from exploding. I only got game overs from like exceeding my time limit or the time ran out, and I couldn't reach
the time
the
limit
score.
is a big thing.
But I didn't really feel that I was getting like shot down easily compared. As I kind of expected that going in. I was like, okay, it's my first game. I'm gonna get shot down. UAVs are hella fast. But no, I at first it actually was like smooth sailing. And then by the end, when I unlocked like those like really fast and like really good jets, I was like, shit, I'm just like mowing these down. Like,
yeah,
they actually feel like that improvement and your skills and your stats as you gradually like progress through the game, which is a really good feeling.
Yeah, and I think this feeling is super intentional. Like this is the whole design of the game is going into this because the whole story reinforces that. When you start off, you're like kind of like a nobody. You're like a hotshot nobody. And then
Rookie.
So you have the first 4 missions where you're part of the peacekeeping force, and then you have the next set of missions 5 through 10. You're part of the penal unit where you're a prisoner. It's basically a Suicide Squad, but planes.
Suicide
which
planes.
Doesn't make that much sense when you really think about it. It's like, would you give all these criminals planes?
Jets, yeah, and to actually
that they could just turn around and bomb the base?
Yeah, like I mean, they did lock their weapons in the mission, so I guess.
Yeah,
that's why.
so I guess they could prevent it theoretically, but they could still theoretically just crash the plane into like the control tower and be like, "Screw you guys,"
or run away from that for that matter.
Yeah. So this game, you kind of go through an arc where you're a hot shot, then you have this downward spiral where you're in the spare squadron, which is the penal unit, where everyone hates you and talks shit about you, and then by the time you get to the Strider squadron in the last bit of the game, you are like. Your reputation's like really gone up and people are like, wow, like you're amazing. And people talk about your progress and missions where it's like, oh my God, like Trigger's taken down like 5 planes this mission.
Like, oh my God, he's so good.
Yeah, like people really hype you up, which I really like because it's like a game where you perform better and people like reinforce that. And I think that's really cool.
On the same end, I found it really annoying at times because, like, okay, I'm doing all the killing. What are you guys doing? Like, you useless pawns.
It's definitely a bit of that. There was a couple times where I was like, whoa, that guy shot down an enemy I was targeting.
It's like,
good job. All right, so let's break this down mission by mission. So we have mission 1, charge assault.
Yeah.
This is your first mission, clear open skies, fight planes. You're primarily just shooting down bombers.
Tutorials.
Yeah, and then people you don't really get a proper introduction to drones, but they do mention it, and you get a little bit of chatter with this your first squadron. Do you have anything significant for mission 1? Because it's pretty much just go out there, shoot down the enemy.
So when I first played this, like when you first play a video game, you press all the buttons to see what each button does, right?
Yeah.
When I discovered you can hold the special missile button or any missile button for that matter, and actually has a camera attached to the missile and it follows it, I was like, shit.
Actually, I want to really mention this. This game looks fucking gorgeous. This is a beautiful game, and that missile camera is just that's so good. Like when you're in some of those really intense missions and you just lock onto someone and fire a missile and just watch that perfect shot just blow up their plane, and then you fly through the explosion. So
you never look back at the explosions.
No, you just fly right through it.
If you can play, if you have the ability to, or let's say you have a really good PC or you have a really good 4K TV and a PS4 Pro, play in 4K.
Yes, play in 4K.
Is definitely worth it.
I was sitting there going like, damn, there's a lot to see. And it's kind of cool because the other games that were really the most well-received games this series were all on PS2, which obviously does not look like real life because it's PS2, it's that generation. They had to work with what they had. This is like, oh my god, I'm watching every explosion. I'm like there's highways that are modeled that you can fly through if you're that crazy.
Yep.
All right,
and the mountain range is so detailed with plus the weathering effects.
Yes,
we'll talk about that later. It's a kind of spoiler, but that one specific mission where it's bad weather plus mountain range plus
yes,
fog of war.
The weather effects add a ton to this game, especially when it's you fly through a cloud and it's all of a sudden it's bumpy, and then you have a bunch of water and your vision is obscured. It's great. So mission 2 is called Charge the Enemy, and it is the first base attack. This is pretty much, it's just your first interaction with ground enemies and targets. So blowing up buildings, taking down planes that are about to take off, which is really cool. And you do those raids on enemy bases. You can attack the planes before they take off, become a threat. And you also get your introduction to LAMs, or SAMs, which are the worst. They will try to shoot you down all the time. And
every time.
Yeah, and various anti-air weaponry. So it's kind of your first introduction to that. There's not, it's a pretty, these first couple of pretty much, I think everything up until mission 4 is pretty basic. It's slowly introducing you to how the game works. Because there's one thing Ace Combat 7 does way better than other games, is that the objectives and the mission design is a million times better. This is way more varied. In Ace Combat 4, it's basically dogfight, blow up base, dogfight, protect this person, dogfight, blow up base. It doesn't really have that much variety.
I gotta say that some of the mission variety I experienced, again, it was first time going through Ace Combat game. Some of the missions I thought were really creative in terms of what they made me do.
Especially considering I'm in a plane.
Yeah, and at the same time, I was like, is this possible with the jet plane? I don't really think it's realistic.
So we're going to move on to Mission 3, Two-Pronged Strategy. This is a brief dogfight mission where you get introduced to your arch nemesis of the game, the Arsenal Bird, which sounds like a Metal Gear name.
It totally does.
So every Ace Combat game has some fantastical elements. In 4... there were space cannons that shoot asteroids that people took over and said, what if we just shoot other countries with this?
Okay.
There's actually a mission Ace Combat. There is a mission Ace Combat 4 where you have to shoot down asteroids. It's pretty rad. But this game's version of it, there's also an Ace Combat game where there's invisible planes and their whole gimmicks, they can just go invisible, which is super annoying. So this game's gimmick is the Arsenal Bird, which is this massive flying fortress. It looks like in Gundam, like the huge planes they have in the original
Yes, it
Gundam.
does.
It looks like that.
Super wide planes.
Yes, except this thing just poops out drones.
I also talked to you about this before, where it also reminds me of one of the angels from Evangelion.
Yes, where it does its huge EMP blast.
Yes, there's like so many references. I loved it.
I loved it. It's a cool introduction, and it's basically like you have to run away because you cannot take it down.
It is a gigantic orb. Oh damn! I forgot what the Eva shield is.
The oh my
Something
god,
field.
the I
AT
field,
field.
AT field,
AT field.
I field is Gundam.
Yeah, it has a freaking AT field, so you can't penetrate it so like straight on.
And that is like a big thing. So basically, you cannot win this fight. You need to retreat. So mission 4 is rescue, where you get to go to the orbital elevator, which also feels like Gundam.
Everything's Gundam in this game.
I mean, I say to Andy, I'm like, this game is basically Gundam, but there's no mechs; they're just planes.
What's with people's like sci-fi people's obsession with space elevators?
There's
cool. Always at least one. I guess it's a gigantic schlong that reaches to the sky.
It's like
a
gigantic schlong.
It's a very phallic building.
So essentially, the former president of oh my god, I'm pretty sure
USA.
I'm pretty sure he's the former president of Yusha.
Oh no, Darren.
President Harling. He's been captured by enemy forces at the space elevator, which he commissioned to be built while he was the president.
Because it was to be a symbol to end the war and bring unity or peace.
It was built, I believe it was built, I want to say Ace Combat 5. I'm pretty sure it's built at the end of that game.
Oh, really?
And because he's the president during that game.
Okay.
So he built it as to unify the entire continent, which is largely consists of a few small countries and then like the superpowers of Oshia and Erusia. But people resented it because it cost their country a lot of resources to build the elevator, and it took
probably that thing goes very far.
It goes super far. You'll find out later. So essentially, in this mission, you need to sneak through enemy like a radar area. On your own radar, you have like areas that you have to basically like just try to get through as best you can. All of this enemy radar.
Yep.
And once you get through there, then you launch a sneak attack, and then it turns into an escort mission. So this is like the first really designed mission.
I also love the premise of this mission because up to the first 3, they kind of build you up as, hey, you're not so bad, rookie.
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, here's a really important mission, and only you can do it. You got to go rescue.
You're our best pilot. Fly through like this really difficult location.
Like we're counting on you. Even in the beginning of the mission, the mission control, I don't know what his initials, like AWS something.
I think it's AWACS.
Yeah, AWACS. And he's like,
control.
He's literally like has a personal message like, you have to save Harling. He's the hope of our nation. Like, Trigger, it's up to you. Like, such a heartfelt message when you're going in.
Yeah.
Like gives you all this pressure. Like, okay, I guess Harling's really important.
Yeah.
In like the story of Ace Combat. For 2 as like a first time Ace Combat person.
Yeah. But sadly, things go wrong, and as also spoiler warning for everyone joining us. Spoiler warning now, if you really care about the story of Ace Combat 7.
All right, no more fidgeting. Let's go.
So you go to, I believe this is timed so that when you go, I'm pretty sure on the radio, they're like, trigger, there's like a drone right on Harling. Like you have to like go shoot that drone. And as soon as you go to fire on it, the missile hits Harling's escort and blows up and kills him.
Which is hilarious because at the time, when I first played this mission, I ran out of missiles. So at this point, I was like, okay, fine, I'm machining gunning this all day. So I think, I was super confused. Oh, wait, did I actually hit him or is this a cutscene? Because I did hit his plane a lot with machine guns.
You later find out that this was like staged. Like essentially, like they shot it down. The enemy shot it down as part of like the drone operation. and you essentially get framed for killing former President Harling, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, like Trigger shot down Harling."
He's a
And because
killer.
of this, you have to go to super prison.
Super
Or as
prison.
I like to think of it, plain prison, because apparently all of the major prisoners are either pilots or mechanics.
What a great country like this, like it operates on.
Yeah, and this is
Everyone's
where
criminals.
in the story you meet up with Avril, the main point of
Never
view
living.
character.
Yes.
And this is, I think, so missions 5 to 10, you're flying with the penal mission. I think in terms of like story and dialogue, this is my favorite part of the game because it's just constant shit talking you. Like everyone's just like, "Hey, you don't have like in the first mission that you fly out, you're not allowed to shoot anyone. You're just told to
Nope.
like distract the enemy."
You know the first thing I did in that mission?
What?
I literally wanted to test if I can actually like fly like this, like vertically, kind of on the sideways. So
Yeah.
if I go through an enemy plane with my wings, can I actually just clip it through and just like
How did that
blow
work
them up?
out for you, Andy?
Not well. I was like, test number one, game over. Like, okay, never again. So I hate games where like actually like it's what do you call this, like scripted battles where I have to actually wait a couple of minutes until like it progresses to the next part of the mission. I hated those. So, I was trying to find ways to kill time, and a lot of kamikazes were involved. Not good.
But eventually, because essentially the base you're at is serving as a dummy base and like a distraction, and they're like, "Oh my god, they're actually trying to kill us." Okay, fine, you can shoot back.
I love the cutscenes before this mission, and where Everill's like, explaining what's happening. Like they're inflating gigantic jets to like kind of give away that there's actually some kind of construction going on to
Yeah.
like throw off the illusions.
Like the runway is painted, is just painted. It's not actually like a real runway. It's just dirt, but just painted over.
Yeah, dirt painted and gigantic balloons. Where do you find gigantic jet balloons?
I'm sure the military.
Nowhere.
I mean, they had that for D-Day. Back in D-Day, they faked that they were going to be attacking somewhere else. They like had a bunch of blow up trucks and like carriers and all this stuff and all this equipment and gear to be like, "Hey, we're all over here, not over here."
Okay, fine. I'll give that the benefit of the doubt.
And this is like 2019 where they have like crazy technology in Strange Real. So I buy that they can use
find
that
balloons of gigantic jets. All right.
So after this introduction, so this first mission's like pretty basic. It's just to introduce you to the style of gameplay of the Penal Squadron.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I want to point out that your plane initially had like a little call sign on like the wings, and they give you they exit out basically with three strikes,
which looks comparatively more awesome, by the way.
Yeah, and they mention that in this Penal Squadron, on the planes that have the strikes, the amount of strikes represents how terrible of a person you are. And because you killed Harling, you're considered the worst, which is why you have 3 strikes.
They cannot give you any more strikes than 3.
Or stripes, you could also say. In this,
I guess,
in this unit. So mission 6, Long Day. This is I think in my first playthrough of this game, I found this to be one of the tougher missions because this is your first score attack mission where you have like a very small time limit and you need to destroy enough either enemy combatants or buildings and structures to succeed. So you have like a minimum you have to hit, and you have to blow up a lot of stuff.
I have a question for you for the Penal unit saga.
Yes.
You know how you had access to good planes in like the Yuuzhan peacekeeping force because the context is, okay, you're part of a peacekeeping force.
Yeah.
And then you become part of the Penal unit, which means they're like not funded very well and you're full of criminals, right? I always thought that it would have made more sense if they force you to fly like really bad planes.
Yeah,
for this
that probably would have reinforced. I think.
Yeah,
I feel like they almost designed it that way, then undid it. Because in this game, like you can choose whatever planes you've unlocked, and you get like currency by completing missions. So later on, you can replay missions to grind currency, and then you can buy the more expensive planes or additional like upgrades or alternate weapons and stuff like that. And I feel like because other games in the series already did, like, just choose whatever planes you unlocked. But I definitely agree that that could have reinforced it. But I feel like because of the design of these missions, they're definitely designed in mind with you to have better
Mhm.
planes.
It was kind of off-putting too, seeing you stream that one time. You're playing like the penal unit missions, but you
Yeah.
have like the end game jet.
Yeah.
You're like fucking wrecking everything. I was like, this seems very balanced.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is a pretty fun mission because it's just like you flying around, blowing stuff up, and there's like a competition of like who can get the highest kill count, and people are like, "Oh, damn, Trigger's the best." Then this is sort of where people start saying, "Hey, stick with Trigger if you want to live."
And the endless will put you in solitary confinement if you disobey our orders.
Yes, that is like the ongoing meme with the penal unit. It's like you breathe, solitary.
Solitary.
You
You
kill
talk.
someone, solitary. You do a good job, solitary.
If you do a good job, there's nothing to talk about in the end briefings. Next mission.
Literally.
They're so mean.
All right, so we're next going to talk about Mission 7, which is called First Contact, which is probably one of the coolest missions in the game.
Agreed.
This is, if they were to make an anime off of Ace Combat 7, this is the one that I would be the most hyped for.
This would be like leading up to like the cliffhanger kind of episode where
Yeah.
like you do the first part and then the cliffhanger would be, oh my god, Mihage showed up. Dun dun dun.
Yeah.
Next episode.
So, Andy, without looking at the document, you're introduced to your rival, Mihai, in this game. What is his full name? Without looking at the document.
Fine, I won't look at the document. I'll look at this other thing. His real name is Mihaly Dumitru Margareta Cornelia Leopold Blanca Caro Eon Ignatius Raphael Maria Nikitis Shilage.
I'm also going to paste it in the chat. That's how long his name is.
So explain to me how names work.
Well, essentially, you find out later that this guy is basically like a retired pilot. He is like a legendary ace. He has fought in almost every war that's happened in Strange Rail. And he was formerly the prince of a nation that got later overtaken by Eurasia. And the integrity of his character is shown because even though his country was destroyed and he lost everything, he signed up for the Erusian military like an ordinary citizen. And then he becomes a fighter pilot and he becomes like the best.
You know, given how memey this game is, I literally thought this was like a Metal Gear Solid 2, like Kojima kind of humor, where he's like lists like the name of the developers or something.
Yeah, I mean, you almost could.
I also like wrote down each initial. I was like, okay, it does actually spell anything, but no, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It's all these different like European sounding names that combine
Dude,
to it.
If his name spelled out Ace Combat 7, that would have been super dope.
That would be too much. So
I
Mihai
mean,
is awesome. He is an old badass who I believe you've had at least one other preview to him when he shoots down one of your squadron mates, and people are just freaking out, going like, "This guy's a hunter. He's a predator. He's like on my tail, but he's not shooting. What is he doing?" And they're just like freaking out in the comms, and eventually it's just like signal lost.
Is he the living legend? Oh.
Pretty much. And then you find out all the drones are based off of his combat data. So that's why the drones are good.
He did a stall maneuver too, which is sick.
Also, it's revealed in outside of game material that he trained the rival character from Ace Combat 4.
Ooh.
Who's Yellow 13.
Dumb names.
Hey, it's cool. So Mihai is rad, and he has a super cool cutscene where he takes out one of your squadron mates who's like, I can your squadron mate basically pulls the brakes on his plane, gets behind him, he's like, haha, I got him. And then he does this cool maneuver, and the music is synced up to it, where because you don't see him shoot, but he basically does this cool maneuver where he's over top of him, and then there's just an explosion, and the music is like perfectly synced to it.
He literally goes perpendicular on your ass.
Yeah, it's super cool. And so this is what you were talking about before, the weather effects. So there is a lightning storm going on while you are in this huge mountain range.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically, it starts off as destroying a radar site and then becomes a duel this guy. And It's the idea of you need to protect your squad mates so they can run away, and you're the only one who can hold them off.
But wait, there's a thunderstorm happening, so you got to watch out for thunders.
Which, if it hits your plane, it temporarily like disables your plane, and so it's a really cool setting to have a dogfight against a character who's like so hyped up.
I love this mission, but again, first time.
Those mountains, man.
Well, not the mountains. Like mountains.
I crashed. Even on stream, I crashed into one of the mountains.
Oh, you suck. Okay, you know how like each mission debriefing is like, oh hey, you're gonna destroy buildings, which kind of suggests you should bring like anti-building weapons for your special weapon. Maybe okay, because this mission never actually spoils what's gonna happen in like a second part. So I only brought these special like anti-building missiles,
like a bomb.
Yeah, like the bombs. Like, yeah, I'm gonna just clear this without a second thought. And then like Mihai shows up. I'm like, fuck. What am I supposed to do with like anti-building missiles against this guy?
Yeah, good luck.
So I had to like restart the mission with actual like anti-air missiles. So things like that was kind of annoying, but then again, it actually like makes it more interesting. It's like, okay,
I'm willing to bet most people going through this game for their first time played these missions more than once.
Yes,
because they're not easy. This is probably one of the easier Ace Combat games overall. Yeah, and I only say that because this game actually has checkpoints, whereas older games don't. So it's like, oh, you died during the second part of this 2-parter mission. Restart the whole mission. So it's more punishing.
God bless these checkpoints, because when you actually go back to a checkpoint, it actually replenishes your special missile counts.
Yes, which is a little cheap.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh shit, I got all my weapons now, motherfucker. I was like,
yeah. But this is such a great introduction to Mihai, and then he gets a cutscene where he's just hyped up, and you're like, dang. And I also love a lot of his quotes, where it's just like, he's part of the Soul Squadron, which is a really cool name for an enemy squadron of planes.
Mm-hmm, agreed.
And they're like, hey, what's your status? And it's like, I'm kind of excited, as he's fighting you and stuff like that. And if his dialogue is different depending on how well you're doing in the fight against him.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So if you get hit by his missiles, they'll be like, hey, like Soul 13, did you shoot him down? And he's like, no, he diverted the missile impact to damage the least important parts of his plane. This guy's good. Or if you're like, if you shoot him a couple times, you actually hit him, which is not easy because you're using a plane that's probably not that good. And he zips around all over the place and has all sorts of crazy maneuvers. But if you hit him, he'll be like, oh, I've actually been damaged. This guy's got skill. And just like stuff like
good. That. Like all these one-liners like totally makes him sound like a Metal Gear villain or something too.
Oh yeah. And I remember the cutscene that he's like in the breathing machine after being on the plane, like he has an oxygen mask. Mm-hmm. That was in all the trailers, and it's like, dang, he's wearing like some future soldier like flight suit getup.
I saw a meme going around where, you know how he's in like the testing unit, like trying to like gather his data. People are saying like, hey, this guy's playing Ace Combat 7 within Ace Combat 7. Because if you look at the screen, it's literally Ace Combat 7 game like on the screen. It's like, wow.
Also, I want to shout out the cutscene with him because this has a JPEG of Golden Retriever in it.
I even noticed that until you mentioned it to me too. Which
hilarious. I think it's like one of the developers' dogs. I'm pretty sure.
It's like I'm looking at it right now because reasons, and like I didn't notice the first time because maybe I was paying attention to the girls. But yeah, that dog isn't moving at all.
Yeah. So, anything else you want to say about Mission 7, First Contact?
They like the boss, like the design of the battle. You know how like rewarding it is in like other games where you manage to like land a hit on a boss, or you like do like a big chunk of damage. Let's say like the Soul series, if you land a critical hit, like finally you kind of figure this pattern out. Mm-hmm. Like it feels fucking good. And like as Darren said, it's really really hard to hit him because again he's a boss and he's in like a really futuristic jet. And if you somehow like manage to hit him even once, like that feeling's really good. And that feeling of like the reward and sense of like accomplishment you get, like they add on to in the future missions, which is really good game design, I think.
And like everything in the story is like reinforcing that this guy is like the baddest dude around. And it's
I don't know why I keep for money yet.
I survived that. So mission 8 is called Pipeline Destruction, which is very apt because this is you blowing up a bunch of oil.
I loved it.
This is like the most Michael Bay thing ever. There's so many explosions because it's you. I took a bomber on this mission. I took a bomber plane because
You
the
have
first
to.
time I took a jet, I was like, I don't have enough ammo to blow up enough stuff.
Oh, Darren. You took the pussy way out.
No, I took the intended way out, which is I took an actual thing that drops bombs instead of just missiles.
No, you got to do it with the missiles, man.
It's
Come on.
so satisfying to get a good bombing run where you're just flying over and you're just dropping consistent just chain explosions happening everywhere. And the soundtrack for this mission is like super guitar heavy.
Mm-hmm.
It later turns into a chase trucks in a sandstorm, which is really difficult, I found.
Yes, because you have to get really close to actually see them
Yes.
on your locking
So
screen.
normally you can be about like 1,000. I'm not sure what the actual distance is. It might be 1,000 meters. It might be 1,000 clicks. I'm not sure. But that's like normally like your missile targeting range. Then in the sandstorm, you have to be like 200 feet or 200 meters or whatever the distance is.
So for this mission, I unlocked that jet, which has like a highest acceleration and speed at like a 3rd tier. So every time I fly by the trucks, it like barely recognizes the trucks to a point where I couldn't lock onto them.
Yeah.
So I did so many U-turns trying to like land the trucks.
And the whole time you're in the sandstorm, your plane's just getting knocked around everywhere.
Oh yeah, like don't ever. I think it's called like the Firebird or whatever. Like bad plane. Take the bomber like Darren.
Yeah, I mean this mission is just Michael Bay. It's a fun, it's a good relief after how intense the last mission was.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have Mission 9, Faceless Soldier, which I think has one of the coolest in-game cutscenes. Which is this is the mission where you're flying around, you're taking out a bunch of drones, and eventually your feed, like your whole heads-up display, is hijacked, and all of the drones are registered as friendly, so you can't fire at them.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh no, we need to like coordinate. Like, how are we gonna like recalibrate the system? And this is everyone goes stick with trigger. And there's this cutscene where all of the whole squadron forms up around you. And I just thought that was like a really cool moment in the story of like this Suicide Squad finally coming together.
Yeah, I was like, let's go. We're finally a Suicide Squad. And like tears fell from my eyes going like so beautiful.
And the music, again, the music. Oh my God, the music sync for that cutscene is so good.
Also, I found it off-putting because I had a plane where it has at its like own camo. And everyone else looks the same except for me. I'm like sticking out as some like really bright green.
You're the
like,
leader.
I should pick something more for like fitting.
And then just when you think everything's good in the penal unit, the dickbag air command person registers Full Band, who's one of the wingmen who pissed off the air ground support guy in the previous mission, and he registers him as an enemy, so your wingman blows him up. And then it's not really, they don't really do anything with it, but they keep bringing it up. They're just like, you made me kill Full Band. He's like, it was an accident.
But it made contextual sense because he kept leaking like classified information over like open channels.
Yeah.
I kind of saw it coming at the same time. I was like, yeah, that's kind of whack. Like, so then, again, like they don't really put any emphasis on you killing your like squad mate because
you
like,
don't do it. This happens. No. This is one of your wingmen.
But you think it'd have more emphasis? I was like, no.
Yeah. So then we have Mission 10, which is the last mission with the penal unit. And this is like the last time you see Avril for like 7 missions. Where I was just like, oh, I guess she's not the main character because most cutscenes have her in it, but I guess she's just gone now. But essentially, you're protecting the base commander, who's a huge dickbag, and he does all the briefings for the penal unit. And he constantly berates and talks down to you. And then now he's like, you better make it like your holy duty to protect me because I'm super important. I'm so good at commanding military stuff.
Or I'll put you in solitary confinement.
Oh, wait. So you and Count get taken out of the penal unit. Everyone else gets shipped off to like a terrible, like it's like a front of the war that's apparently like a bloodbath. They're all getting shipped there. Mm-hmm. And you have to protect base commander Mackenzie, and he's an asshole, and he constantly talks shit to you the entire time. And then later on in the mission, a rogue UAV shows up that's super advanced, and you gotta take it down.
This was also it's an escort mission, and obviously any gamers know escort missions suck. And there's so many SAM sites. You have to like luckily this plane goes really slow in the beginning, so like the optimal strategy is you just like race the fuck on to like the middle of the battlefield and you
And just
try to
trying to
clear everything.
find all the SAMs.
Just destroy it before
Did
they even like
you
reach
did you find how to actually track them?
track who.
The SAMs.
No, I just like went up close to them.
So if you actually pay attention, you can see the smoke from their missiles.
Oh yeah, I mean that's obvious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I just think that's a really cool. It shows you how like well thought out the engine is and how the engine kind of supports game design. I thought that was really cool. It's like, oh, I can just like let the dickbag commander just get lit up,
Take
and
a
I can
pic.
find all the SAMs this way.
He just yells at you when he gets hit too. I was like, "Where's my escort?"
And you're like, I've literally killed like 40 people, man. What do you want?
God. I mean, it was an okay mission, but like not as memorable.
Yeah, the other three missions were all much more memorable. But this is the end of the time with the penal units. So you basically, after you take down this drone, you find out that a highly elite task force squadron was tracking it and trying to capture it. And they're like, oh shit, we didn't even think it could be shot down. Damn, you're good. Come join our squadron.
And goodbye the penal squad.
Yeah, they take Hugh and Count. I don't know why they bring Count, because he's, of all the different people in the penal unit, he was kind of like whatever.
I mean, he was the anarchist, right?
He's
Or was it the other guy?
No, that's the other guy.
Oh, okay,
This
never
is
mind.
like if you've seen Top Gun, this is the Iceman to your Maverick. He initially is like super cocky, like I'm the best ace around here, and then eventually he's like, all right, you're better.
Here's my dumb take. You know his like the Kodak art?
Yes.
He reminds me of that guy from Iron Fist, like the main actor. I suck with names, so maybe you can help me out on that.
I don't remember the actor's name, but Danny Rand, everyone's favorite,
Yeah,
everyone's favorite Marvel protagonist.
He looks like goddamn Danny Rand. Don't you agree?
It's the hair.
It's the hair.
It's the hair. I could see it from the hair. That's funny.
He also looks like the guy from Death Note live action.
That's less favorable. So this is, you're part of the Strider Squadron now, and they do a really cool thing here where they take the 3 stripes and they turn it into what looks like a fox, like clawing.
Yeah, like claw marks.
So I thought that was really cool that they made this thing that was like, look how you should be ashamed of what you've done, to be like, oh, look how cool you are. You got this cool like logo for your call sign.
Redemption arc.
Yeah, pretty much. This mission is I think this is the first major fleet mission where you have to take down an enemy fleet, and they also have like this giant water platform base that you can individually shoot the platforms off of, which I thought was rad.
Which I couldn't figure out the first time. Because there's so many lock-ons on the platform, because you have the surface air missiles. You also have
the
like
AA guns, there's oil tanks, there's planes that are sitting on there, there's command towers, radio towers.
They keep telling me like, hit the platform. Like, where? Like, how am I supposed to lock onto which one?
Really, I don't really have a lot to say about the design of the mission, but I thought it was like a really fun mission.
Wasn't this the mission with the greatest meme of all time, though?
Which? Oh, the sandwich.
This is a sandwich mission.
So you go from your support on your like your codec, your radio, basically going like, "Hey, solitary, shut up," or solitary, to pass me that sandwich.
I'm hungry.
I can't see what I don't eat. And literally every mission he mentions sandwiches somehow.
Sandwiches are food. Even he makes analogies about the planes. Like, if you go to this zone, you can replenish your fuel for your planes. Planes needs to eat to function. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, is this how military operates?
Yeah. No.
But yeah,
I don't really have anything else to say about this mission other than it's just a really fun mission. You have anything to add?
Ships are fucking difficult to kill, and they lock onto you better than actual SAM site and anti-air missile sites.
Yeah, they have some pretty advanced tech.
But it does feel good if you have like a bomber.
Or even just doing the flybys on these can feel really good.
Because the ship has 3 parts for some reason. I don't know why.
It depends on the size of the ship.
Yeah, so if you take it on like a frigate or like a battleship, with like a single like anti-ship missiles, it feels very satisfying. And going back to the thing where you can hold a button to activate the camera on your the missiles you fire. Oh man, if it actually goes on the ship before it like explodes, very good. Very
Yes,
satisfying.
it's a very good showcase for the tech. All right, so this next mission is
Oh,
probably one of the more memorable ones. So this is Stonehenge Defensive, which I mentioned to Andy. Remember I talked about those giant guns that were meant to shoot asteroids? That's called Stonehenge. And
no.
in Ace Combat 4, you needed to attack this place to take out the guns.
Hmm.
All the way down now in Ace Combat 7, you have to defend it's like a flip on that mission basically, where there's all these different enemy squadrons that are both like ground vehicles and planes that are coming to attack, and you need to go support. You need to literally just zip all over the battlefield to protect people.
I love the narrative that the only way to take down a futuristic
Yeah, this
UAV
is this
bird is
the
by
purpose
using
is
an
to take down
entry
Arsenal Bird.
from the old war.
Yeah, so basically they take the whole mission is protecting one of these rail guns to shoot the Arsenal Bird so you can take it down.
The one of the biggest railguns in the world, and only one's functioning out of like
Yeah.
all the ones that are like surrounded. Like,
Thanks, Mobius one,
jeez,
because he destroyed the other ones.
he forgot one.
It kind of reminds me of the Ava Evangelion episode where they need to use all the power of Tokyo 3 to shoot one shot to take down the angel.
That's I know it's exactly the same too. Like, oh,
And the music syncs to like when they're like, "We did it!" and everyone's like cheering.
I gotta say, like, as well, let's start from the beginning. This mission is hard as hell for one reason. It's really large map, and there's like a variety of enemies where if you only bring anti-vehicle or anti-facility bombs, then you have trouble with like the
You're gonna
bombers.
have a bad time.
You're gonna have a bad time. And if you only rely on the surface ones, it's kind of hard to take down like the bomber ones. So it's one of those missions where repeated run throughs is kind of mandatory, in my opinion, just to figure out
Yeah,
like the patterns. But
yeah.
once you do get it, it's really sad. It's like one of the best missions, probably my favorite mission out of all,
Wow, damn.
even more than the what's call it the first the thunderstorm encounter, only
Yeah,
because the like taking down the Arsenal bird in the second part was super satisfying
yeah.
because I
It
brought like
is, especially
8
because you fight it like a few other occasions.
because I unlocked the plane with the that has the 8 lock-on anti-air missiles and firing them all at once at the like the propellers going like
Yeah, super rewarding.
pew. But
So this next mission is a very different pace. Opera This is mission 13 Bunker Buster, where basically instead of having a special weapon, you have a laser targeting system where you need to direct a strike on these bunkers that are trying to launch nukes.
which begs the question, why couldn't you do this for the Arsenal bird?
Because the shield.
I
It has that
mean,
magic technology shield that blocks everything, which is why
is
you
it
needed Stonehenge to get through it.
is the bunker buster only a missile? Or I thought it was like a same like like a railgun style weapon.
In this mission, what you're just doing laser tracking, and then I believe it's being bombarded
Oh, okay.
with like artillery or something.
I'm just saying.
But some of these bunkers are really tricky to land to sync up the shots on, because basically you need to hold it down and you need to keep it steady, but you also need to fly a fucking plane that's traveling really fast. And there's
I,
enemies.
I think there's one bunker in like the literally inside a cliff too. Like really
Yes.
well hidden. Holy shit.
That definitely took a couple tries.
It's like, how did you fit a bunker down there? Like, how do you even get into this bunker in real life?
It's probably like an underground entrance somewhere miles away. I don't really have a lot to say about this one. It's just I found it's a very different pace. Like, I think the pacing's really good in this game. You go from like doing all these different sorts of objectives, and this is a nice change of pace from how intense shooting down the Arsenal bird is.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
The next
looks really
mission,
fun, the lock-ons.
yeah, the next mission is mission 14, Cape Rainy Assault, which is what, in my opinion, one of the most memorable missions, even though it's probably one of the easiest and shortest.
Yes, very
So
easy.
this is a night raid on a enemy forward base for all their planes. And so for the first part of it, you're flying through a canyon and dodging spotlights, which probably
In a
doesn't make sense because they could
no,
probably hear your planes, but
yes,
it's cool, so shut up.
no, that makes no sense.
But it's really cool because then once you get through that first part of dodging all the searchlights, which is like, this is secretly trying to develop the skill you need for mission 20, which is flying in very narrow passages.
You're meaning to tell me just because you don't shine a light on a jet, you don't notice a gigantic big hunk of metal going past you in a cliff?
Maybe it's like it's not man operated. Maybe they're all automatic and they need to get visual confirmation.
Oh my god.
I mean, all the enemies use drones and AI technology for everything else. But I love when you do this mission and you get through to the night attack and you start just dumping missiles on the enemy base, and they're just like, "What the fuck?" And this mission probably has the most opportunities to take out planes that are trying to take off.
And it feels so satisfying if you do.
You're just like, ah, suckers.
I just brought all like the ground bombs. It's just bombarded everything.
Yeah.
And you hear like the calls within like the base when they're literally just waking up from your explosion. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
All right. I don't have anything else for this one because this is another
What?
just.
Dude, are you kidding me?
What do you mean? What more do you have for this mission?
Okay, after you bombard the initial wave and you take down all like the air support, the point of the operation is you're trying to send in like the ground troops within inside the base to take over.
Yeah.
So once you actually destroy everything and you ground for actually go in, you actually hear like the infantry chatter on the radio. And once they actually clear, the stupid what's his name? The your radio or your Overwatch person goes like, okay, we're taking you as prisoners of war. We have pizza. Who, who the hell says we have pizza to prisoners?
Also, because you mentioned the radio chat, I should mention this. Sometimes you get to intercept the enemy radio, and sometimes they're like, "Oh my god, this plane with the 3 stripes! I can't evade it! Oh my god, he's taken out!" Like they did freak out. And there's also sometimes where you hear people screaming as you blow them up, and you're like, "Oh yeah, those are people."
Oh yeah, they're human beings.
Like you're like, "Ooh, cool! I took down this ocean platform." You're watching this whole base crumble to the ocean, and you just the enemy comms are just people screaming and going, "Put out the fire! Oh god, where's Jeffrey?" Ah! They like die.
So it makes you feel like an awful human being. It's like, okay.
It's like, oh yeah, war is bad.
War is bad, but planes are rad. Moving on.
So this next mission, mission 15, Battle for Farbanti. This might be my favorite mission. This is up there. This is like in the top 3 or 4 missions for me.
It's hard.
It's hard. It is a huge battle that takes place on multiple fronts in a giant cityscape that ends with rival battle number 2 with Mihai.
Yeah.
And who has like the code name Mr. X because no one knows who he is. And this has some of the best quotes from him, where he says stuff like, there are aces like you in every era, and one by one, I've shot them all down. And you're like, oh my god, he's so cool.
He's talking about the other games.
Yeah, this guy's so badass. And it like, this is like one of those moments where like leveling up your skills, the player, is super rewarding. When you actually take him down, he has to force retreat. And you're like, oh my god, like I'm like when you fight him in mission 5, I think it is, or no, mission 6.
Yep, mission 6.
No, mission 7. When you fight him in mission 7,
yep, 7.
You're horribly outmatched, especially in a first playthrough. By now, this is like a way more even field, so it feels really rewarding to be able to put up more of a fight.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Since you're a hardcore gamer, you probably played this in hard mode.
I've done 2 playthroughs, one on normal, one on hard.
Does his flight pattern change if you play on hard mode?
I believe they use more evasive maneuvers, and I think he and other enemy aces, which in some missions there's secret enemy aces you can take down for like bonus points and like achievements.
Cool.
So there's a lot of replay value to go back and re-experience mission. There's also like another difficulty above hard that you can play through once you beat the game on hard, which I have not done yet. But they basically, aces can do like stall maneuvers, which are more advanced techniques that only certain planes that you acquire can pull off.
Mm-hmm.
So this is where you can do like instant like rotations and do stuff like that that's more fancy and can put you in really advantageous situations.
Yep. This was also a gigantic map mission,
This
so
is
it took a long
huge.
time.
This is huge. So you're literally flying, and they give you options of like which front are you flying to support.
Oh yeah, I
There's
always
that,
went for the hero one.
and there's that whole part of the city that's like sunken.
Mm-hmm.
And this mission ends with quite a bang.
Literal bang.
Literal bang, because the entire network satellite system is taken out by like a nuclear missile.
I don't like how they premised it though in the cutscenes. It's like no one knows who caused it. Maybe it was an asteroid that hit the satellite.
Well, it's like a thing of like, did we do that?
It
Did we do that? Did Aruja do that? Like, who did this? And
everyone's confused.
because this is like one of like the turning points of the whole war.
Mm-hmm.
And then so when we go into mission 16, which is Last Hope, this is like this peak of confusion where like everyone's cut off communication wise. So it's just like your squadron going like, we don't have any orders from command. We need to try and do what we can to stop this. And there's so much infighting happening. This is where the Erusian military, who are the main antagonists, have all this infighting where people are turning on each other and trying to get out of this war. And during this mission, the whole gimmick, this happens for like the next couple of missions, where you need to basically target people to determine if they're friendly or enemy.
You say that, but I just blew everyone in the first round.
And they just, the only penalty is you lose points, so you get a worse ranking, and they just yell at you on the comms. They're like, what are you doing? That's a friendly.
Oopsies.
And then you hear like, Trigger just shot down a friendly.
Shh. Quiet. Nothing happened.
But
yeah,
this is probably the most escort mission in the game.
But it wasn't a cityscape, so I guess it kind of made up for it. It was really like fun mission, although
yeah, it's a super different. It's a way slower pace than the last mission.
I don't know how realistic it is to fly that low in a city to take down like a anti-air like cars and not blow up like half the radius of the city while at it.
Yeah, but fun. But planes are rad.
But fun because don't question realism. Shut up, Andy.
Pretty much. Also, I just wanted to point out to everyone that oh, he's not visible there.
Where's your dog? Show your dog. It's dog time. Let's go.
Dog.
Sleeping?
Yeah. He stirred a bit when I moved the chair. He was lying flat on his back asleep.
You should just put a dog cam on.
I should. I need another camera. But yeah, mission 16 is a really good change of pace. A much slower mission where you're just going, okay, one by one, taking down enemies. It's a solid mission, if a bit annoying. Then we go to mission 17, Homeward, where you remember that terrible battlefront I mentioned earlier?
Yes.
This is like a island that has gone to hell and just everyone's fighting each other. And this is where Avril is.
Our favorite girl. Best girl.
Maybe.
What?
She's up there.
Who's your best girl?
We'll get into that. She's in mission 20.
Oh, I don't even know her.
She's from Ace Combat 5. She's like one of your main wingmen.
We'll get there. Okay,
she's like basically the main character of Ace Combat 5.
She's a voice file.
But she was my waifu from AC5.
Oh my god.
But point being, this is another one of those really big maps where you need to fly around. You need to be everywhere to support different people. You need to take, like when they go, oh shit, bombers are coming. You're still in the middle of blowing up other objectives, and you basically just need to turn around and fly to the edge of the map to get these bombers, because it's game over if they start bombing the island.
They're really putting the emphasis of like, you are the one-man army, you're already badass, guess you gotta go every fucking where to solve every fucking problem.
Yeah. Pretty much.
I mean, it's fun. At least they made it fun. It's not, it doesn't feel like a chore, if anything.
And then there's this weird crossover where the Princess of Erusia, who's basically a symbol, she's been used as like a tool of propaganda basically for the Erusian war effort. She becomes like a central player.
And who haven't we talked for the past hour or so? We never mentioned her once.
Yeah, she doesn't really have that much screen time, and then all of a sudden it's like her and Avril are like in every cutscene together, and they're like talking about war and what does Harling's mirror show, which is a painting that Harling made that commissioned for the orbital elevator.
God, I hate when people get epiphanies from drawings.
It's funny because it's like the whole idea is it's a mirror, and whatever you're trying to look out of it. If
Oh my
you have a certain perspective looking at this painting, you'll take something different from it than someone else.
Oh my god.
Which is true. Which is true of all art.
No, please don't go in the direction.
So Mission 17 is a pretty fun scramble fest. It still has that lock-on gimmick where you need to lock on someone for a bit to determine if they're friend or foe.
Or if you're me, just blast everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we go to Mission 18, which is another one of my mission candidates for my favorite mission. This is a pretty brief, at least for me. I beat this mission in like 6 minutes. And I was like, damn, I thought this was going to be longer.
Yeah.
But this is basically you go to Shilaji, which is the kingdom that Mihai originally was the heir to. And during this whole downbreak of the Erusian military, they declared their independence, and their like armed forces are like trying to earn their independence. And they're being protected by the Soul Squadron, which is Mihai's squadron. And in our show notes, I wrote this as Virgil 3, because this is the third and final time you fight Mihai after you take out the Shilaji's castle's defenses. He shows up perfectly on music cue, and you have your final showdown with him, where he basically tells his wingman to fuck off and let you guys 1v1, and everyone on their comms is like, we're out. You guys are fucking nuts. You guys fight. And Mihai, for this fight, has the same sort of tactics, except now he has a railgun on his plane.
It is so cool.
It's so cool. I love the visual and audio effect when he fires it, and you can see how it's rippling through the air, and it like knocks your plane around if it misses, and it messes up your HUD.
It's really immersive, that this fight, and as much like overall it's really good. I wish he had a more like a desperation move kind of thing. He like would fire like railgun more rapidly.
Yeah.
Because in a typical game, you actually has like a pattern to like, okay, he's gonna follow the railgun next, and he does in like a specific pattern.
It's kind of like the people in the comms like scream at you like he's firing, and you're like, oh fuck, and you're like trying to like.
I wish it was more sporadic. I wish he would go more berserk. Like he just like goes on your.
I think this would be one of those missions. I don't remember the difference between normal and hard, but I think if you went through this on like the ace difficulty, I think this would be one of those missions that would benefit from it, because it would really augment that fight. And I love the theme that plays when you have that final dogfight with him.
Oh, I agree. It's one of the best.
I really like how he actually ejects and gets to live.
Yep.
I actually really like his ending, because in Mihai's ending, it's basically that he survives the war, he survives your dogfight, but he can never fly again. He's like crippled afterwards.
I kind of disagree with that to a degree, where like it would have been cool if you just gave him like a warrior's death kind of thing. I guess you need to add like another name to his long list of names for the future games, I guess.
I think that this sort of comes from a place of literally in every other Ace Combat game, you kill the rival ace. And so in my mind, it's a little refreshing that he has like arguably a worse fate, because his whole gimmick is that he lost his kingdom, but because he's so good at flying planes and he's such a ace that that people say the sky is his kingdom, and now you've taken that away from him.
We're such bad human beings.
I mean, to be fair, he was doing some sketchy shit. Also, it's revealed that the doctor that was making the drones is like the bad guy, maybe. Because he is from Belka, which is from Ace Combat Zero, which is a nation of crazy people. They want the world to end, or they want everyone to just kill each other. A lot of the remaining Belkans try to go to other countries and manipulate them to going to war. Because some men want to watch the world burn.
It's always those goddamn Belkins.
Literally. You could blame a lot of stuff that happens in Strange Reel on Belka. But
All right.
Lost Kingdom is a really cool battle, and it's one of my favorite missions because of that dogfight.
Is this the 2 UAV fight, or is this the take back the space elevator fight?
This next mission, Mission 19 Lighthouse, is the take. So this first part is like the biggest dogfight in the game, which is just, this is literally every single person is like, oh my god, we need to stop the war.
Mhm.
And everyone's like, yeah, we need to stop the war. But the drone factory is still pooping out drones, and the drones are set to just kill everyone who's not Aruja.
Mhm.
So the war is like automated at this point, where your goal is to take back the space elevator, which is providing energy to all of these factories to create the drones.
Because that's what Harling intended? Question mark.
I don't know. The Arsenal birds, because there's more than one Arsenal bird, it was intended to protect the elevator. It's supposed to be the symbol of peace, but now it's a symbol of tragedy and war.
It's a symbol of peace by raining UAV birds on people.
Yeah. So basically, the goal is that you need to take back the space elevator before the next generations of drones are produced, because these are going to be the baddest, most dangerous drones.
Because they uploaded them like the final Mihai file onto them.
And if they can make an army of Mihais, we'll all die.
I have a question for you for this mission, like the whole premise of taking back the space elevator.
Yeah.
Do you remember the mission in like the 00, what's the second season? Yeah, second season of Gundam 00, where the X-Laws and like the different nations are gathering around the space elevators because there's like a coup d'etat happening and there's like a way to base a space elevator. Watching that episode and playing this mission, I was like, holy shit, is the space elevator going to blow up and debris going to fall from the sky? So we have to like take down the debris as it falls. And like that kind of unifies the nation again. I'm like, and no, it didn't happen, but it would have been cool if that was a
This is literally every nation, even Erusia. Like the cool part is in the last mission, you fight the Soul Squadron and Mihai, and the Soul Squadron, like, Mihai's wingmen are with you on this mission. So I thought that was really cool. It kind of brings it together, and everyone's like, yeah, like stick with Trigger. And it's like this huge, like there's so many enemy planes in this first part of the mission.
There are so many shit going on.
Like when you fly in and it's just this huge open battlefield, and it's also kind of neat that it goes full circle. It's like you were you had to work your way towards the space elevator at the beginning, then you eventually reach the space elevator at the end.
Like come back full circle.
Yeah. And then you have to take out the second Arsenal bird, which now has laser weapons, which will fuck your shit up if you're below it.
Which is also cool. But then again, at this point, you unlock more cooler planes, so you can take it down with more cooler fashion with better weapons.
Yeah, I really liked having one of the end game planes and just going nuts on it. And I also liked, apparently they delayed the game for this mission so they could create and sync the track that plays as soon as the Arsenal bird shields are permanently deactivated. And there's like this huge music swell and everyone's like, go! And you're like, just firing all your missiles at it.
Oh my god. Did it sync what you say run?
I mean, it's specifically synced for the song Daredevil, which is like one of the best tracks in the game. Also, I just want to shout out the game's composer, who I apologize when I butcher his name. Keiki Kobayashi.
Oh my god. Where is it? Keiki Kobayashi.
Yeah.
There.
He is a god. Like this soundtrack is ridiculously good, and you would not expect it from, like, if you're going into this like not playing the other Ace Combat games and going, oh, these games have good soundtracks, you'd be like, why does this plane game have such kick-ass music that's like super epic? He
did a lot of work for other games too. He also made the tracks for like Tekken 6, Soul Calibur, Smash Brothers.
So he's involved in a lot of stuff.
He makes epic tracks.
Yeah, like, and seriously, listen to the song from Ace Combat 7 called Daredevil. It is phenomenal. It has such good build-up. When that music swells, it's just go nuts.
Which is good, because I thought after like the Stonehenge missions, the OST kind of like went more like a subtle tone because a lot of missions were like taking like it's for like espionage or
Yeah.
it kind of had a tone
Pretty
because
much
it
up
very
until
confused.
these last two missions, the music's been a lot more in the background.
Yeah, but then they bring it back like they save the best for last kind of thing, and like the last two mission OSTs are like, mwah.
Also, this mission never ends because after you take down the Arsenal bird, two of the super drones show up.
I know, like like third phase, like come on.
This is one of those areas where the checkpoint system really makes this way easier because if you kill the Arsenal bird, you're likely mostly out of munitions.
If you manage to beat this mission in your first playthrough without dying once, congratulations to you. Holy crap, you must be good
Well,
at the economy.
on my hard mode playthrough, I beat this mission and I had 0 missiles left. I had to manually gun down the last drone, and that was hard.
Those drones are small and agile, like more
And
faster
they
than
do
normal
like
UAVs.
they will fly straight up and then fly straight down. You're like, how do I target you? You're going so fast.
That's how you just gotta do the abuse the checkpoints. You get all your anti-air missiles back.
Yeah, pretty much. But this is a pretty cool mission. I think this was meant to be like the big mission, but I really like Lost Kingdom more.
It was significantly easier than Lost Kingdom, like the Virgil 3 fight.
Yeah.
Even if there was two, the Mihai with railgun was more frightening than the two drones with lasers.
Just the idea of it.
Yeah. I wish kind of like they would have made it more difficult because there's two of them. Maybe they could have done like combination attacks or like something, but it just
I
felt
mean,
like you
the
just find
one
two UAVs and that's it.
the one cool part of this mission is that people are getting wrecked by them. And so you
Mhm.
can see on the radar like your friendlies just disappearing.
One by one.
And people are just freaking out. And they're like people are eventually like, okay, back off and let Trigger fight this because we are just dying.
And I'm just saying, can't you weaken it first? Like
Also, that laser that these planes have, some planes you can actually get that weapon for some planes, and it's basically you fire and it lasts for like 3 or 4 seconds, and it's just aim. So this is really good for taking out like ships or buildings because you're just like laser. So
I managed to kill one with the railgun, which I'm super proud about.
That's rad. You killed it with a railgun.
It was super lucky though. I was like, Hail Mary
You
shot.
must have felt like a badass.
Yeah, I was like,
On my hard mode playthrough of the Stonehenge defensive, I used the railgun there, and that felt really cool. Because like when you're flying by like the tank squadrons, and you just fire the railgun, it just blows up like 3 tanks.
Yeah, railgun or the lasers, like pew pews.
All right, then we have the last final mission, Dark Blue. This is the tunnel run. The tunnel run, you ask. The tunnel run is a concept in every Ace Combat game after 4. 4 introduced it, where, in Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, when Luke Skywalker goes in the trenches of the Death Star to blow it up?
Yes.
And it's like this difficult, impossible shot.
Yep. Why are you doing it? Get out of there, kid.
Literally every Ace Combat game after 4 started this trend, has that Death Star run where you are flying inside an enclosed space in a last ditch, you need to do this or the world's doomed type of tension.
It was cool at the same time. It felt kind of weird.
Yeah. So basically you need to go into an underground pathway and there's one more drone. And you need to get into the space elevator and blow up that drone.
Because that jet fits perfectly in that tunnel and fits perfectly in a designed ring area and just fits perfectly to go shoot straight up.
This is also from what I recall, the drone fight happens in this mission, and this is part 2 of that.
It is.
So Arsenal Bird is mission 19, and the 2 drones, and then chasing this last and third drone is from this mission.
Yep.
So just to clarify that. So this tunnel run I found really difficult. I found I was crashing often. And
I
I was
agree.
kind of surprised. I'm like, I've done these other tunnel runs before, and like this isn't even as hard as some of the other ones. I don't know why I'm so bad at this.
It kind of depending on what kind of jet you pick for this mission. Like some of the jets are really tiny, so you can actually like kind of have the confidence to actually fit through the narrow ones.
Yeah.
I was stupid and brought like the stupid wide one. It was like almost like a 2 jet width, and I couldn't at first. I couldn't find where am I supposed to go. So I literally like went in a loop for like 20 times till I finally found it. And you need to brake at a really
Yes, you
steep
need to fly slower. And there's
I was flying
points where
like
like the doors are closing. You have to like pick up speed and try to get there while the doors are closing.
oh my god, like
This
super.
this also reminded me of Gundam a lot. Like when you see in Gundam when they're trying to fly out of like an enemy base and like the doors are closing and they just barely get through.
Which Gundam is that? Is that a double or a seed? Because I
Probably
remember
Zeta,
Zeta.
like
Yeah.
real Gundam, Andy.
Wow.
Yeah, I went there.
Anyway,
But this has I liked the end of this where you're flying up through the space elevator
Mhm.
and you're like dodging like cargo elevators,
Yeah, oh yeah, that was like super cool.
which those things are scarier than drones.
So are there? Oh, there's cargo. Okay, I'm like, are there people in those elevators? Like,
No, I think it's just delivering like materials and stuff.
but yeah, the final rush is really good, and like well, I guess the space elevator wasn't as detailed, but the details of the elevator and your surroundings as you go like in a super fast speed was really well designed.
And
I love
everyone's like we're getting trigger on radar, and everyone's like trigger. Like you can picture people in the control room like throwing shit and being like cheering.
trigger. Yeah.
Yeah. And then your everyone's favorite waifu from Ace Combat 5 comes down with her astronaut crew and is like, "Hey, thanks for helping us get back down." And you're like, "I don't know how I helped you. I guess by blowing up the drones."
And first time player, I was like, who are you and
Yeah.
why are you in space and where were you the whole time while the
It's
war was going on?
purely for fan service.
And the radio just miraculously came back online.
Yeah.
It's like,
But that's Ace Combat 7. The only other aspects of the game that we haven't really discussed are the VR missions, which currently are exclusive for PlayStation VR, which is stupid because A, you get to play as Mobius 1 again.
yeah.
B, they're actually really good uses of VR, and it would be way better to play it on PC. So I don't understand why they're still exclusive. But they're very short, and it's only like 3 or 4 missions.
I mean, Darren, you have access to all of those things, so why couldn't you play them?
I mean, I'd rather play it on PC is the point, just to get that crisp look. Also, there is DLC missions, which give you some extra planes, and I think it gives you like 6 extra missions. I haven't played through them yet, but I want to.
I think you also can play as like those like final Mihai UAVs, can't you?
Yes, those are included in the DLC. So you get access to some of their crazy weaponry. So this is the part of the podcast where we're pretty much wrapping up. We've discussed the game in pretty good detail. We've gone through it literally level by level. Andy, what are your concluding thoughts on Ace Combat 7? And would you recommend this game to other people like yourself who have never played an Ace Combat game?
So baby's first Ace Combat basically means it's my first flight simulator, dogfight simulator in a way. And yes, I would highly recommend this. It's really, the story is convoluted to the max, but you have a really great rival to fight against. The combat is satisfying, the explosions, the visuals, everything's top notch. The only thing I would put as a minus is that some of the conversation can be kind of immersion breaking. I know like the whole sandwich meme and the pizza memes are fun and all, but it kind of took me out of the experience where like I'm trying to get into super war, like Tom Clancy level heavy, like war drama, but like everyone's just making light heart of it. But then again, those are like nitpicks. So overall, I would totally recommend this game, even if you never play like a simulator before, and or you would think it's like kind of hard to get into like a flight simulator, but it's basically the best entry into the game, in my opinion. Then it makes me kind of want to go back and kind of like play the other games, especially like Assault Horizon, to see how bad it is.
Assault Horizon is crazy to go back to because you're like, I'm just playing a flying game on autopilot. What is this?
I mean, overall, like it's a really good game, and you can really tell the developers put the love into it. It's kind of like what DMC5 was to the Devil May Cry people. Like it's basically like a
But
fan
this is that to planes.
not to planes, yeah. Devil May Plane. I don't know.
Devil May Cry, but planes.
But plane. That level of like love and dedication put into it, and it's basically it will satisfy everyone from every part of the franchise,
Yeah.
even the weird ones.
I think you put it quite well. I couldn't say it any better. I'd absolutely like. Obviously, I recommend this game to a newbie in getting Andy to play it,
Force me.
and yeah, pretty much. And I'm really glad it paid off. And I'm because I remember getting like your Discord messages and you're being like, "Oh my god, like this mission was so cool. I was up till 3 a.m. playing it," and I'm like, "Yes, he likes it. Thank God." It'd be a really hard conversation if you're like, "This game sucks."
That mission was Stonehenge, by the way.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that was such a cool mission. So like I said, I love this game. I think it's one of the best PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC games of recent memory. And I think a lot of people may have just kind of overlooked it because they're like, oh, it's the seventh entry in this game about planes, whatever.
Mhm.
Because my first Ace Combat game was the PSP one, Skies of Deception.
Oh wow.
And I just got it on a whim because it was back when PSP UMDs were going for like $5. And I was like, it's got good reviews. Sure, why not? And I was like, whoa, this game is not just planes. This is crazy. This is like Metal Gear.
It's not just planes, it's life.
Oh my god, these planes are turning invisible
Oh wow.
and shooting lasers
On the PSP.
on the PSP. It's actually a pretty solid game. Ace Combat X Skies of Deception. I would recommend Andy and to others, if you've played Ace Combat 7 and you're hungry for more, definitely check out 4, which is like the turning point in the series where it became like amazing. Consider 5. 5 I don't like as much as 4 and 0, which is all on the same engine.
Mhm.
And 0 has one of the coolest the final mission in 0 is a rival battle. And
Yeah,
the gimmick for that is you need to hit the plane from the front. It's the only point where you can damage the plane. And it's basically like you're jousting. It's like playing chicken because you're just flying straight at each other at Mach speed.
Hey, that's what I did for that mission where they disabled my weapons. On guard, bitch.
Yeah, it's like that. So, Andy, thank you so much for joining me for this second episode of the Gaming Pilgrimage where we talked about Ace Combat 7. Andy, before I let you go and we say goodbye to everyone, is there any projects you're working on or anything in regards to your podcast or YouTube channel or Twitch channel that you would like to shout out?
Nothing in the works yet, but most of the podcasts I make are on a whim where I just wake up and have like an epiphany. It's like I should make an episode about that. So follow me on Twitter at Last Blues or follow me on the podcast platforms on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast. Search Gaming Blues Podcast, and you will be notified when I make new content. Most likely with this guy, but with COVID and all, like content epiphanies have been slow. But I'll get there when I get there.
I mean, when you're working from home, it's really difficult to separate work from house life
Oh yeah,
and free time.
it's all
Content creation pressure.
I mean, I dabble on esports, and if there's no esports actually happen, it's kind of hard to make content for it. But that's an excuse. But
I mean, right now, the only esport is pedophilia.
whoa. Streaming wise, I just finished a stream of Mega Man, so I might
Mega
stream
Man, which Mega Man? There's so many Mega Man games, Andy.
the best one, the Adventures of Shinji Ikari from Mega Man Star Force, the best Mega Mans.
I would definitely recommend checking out Andy's playthrough of it, which is the entirety of it up on YouTube.
Not yet, but you can watch my Twitch spots. The YouTube compilations will be up. I just gotta make them. They are in progress. I just gotta put the finishing touches on them. Yes, I do embarrass myself quite horribly. If you did enjoy the playthrough of me and Darren and I going through Fire Emblem 8, this might top that in terms of cringiness.
Let's just say there's a moment where Andy is asked about the planets in the solar system, and I was just like in tears watching it. I'm not going to spoil why, but check it out.
I mean, That part of the episode is already on YouTube, so check that out.
Yeah, check that out for sure. And then as for the gaming pilgrimage, for the next episode, for episode 3, we're going to be looking at what I like to think is my favorite game of all time, which is Chrono Trigger.
Mhm.
I'm very keen to revisit this. I haven't played it in about 5 or 6 years, so I'm curious to see if I still. All my memories of it are incredibly positive. So that'll be the next game. And then the following game after that will be Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty.
Ooh.
And after that, I currently do not have the next games lined up. So if you have suggestions for titles, whether they be RPGs, action games, or games that you're just interested in hearing my opinion on, and those I bring on the show, by all means, feel free to leave your suggestions either here on Twitch, on YouTube, or of course over on Twitter, where I can be found at Gaming Pilgrim if you want to give me suggestions for games you would like to see covered in this format. Otherwise, I think we can say goodnight, and I want to thank Andy one last time for joining me for cool playing fun times.
Thanks for hosting me.
Anytime. And to
And
all of you watching live on Twitch, we appreciate it and hope you enjoyed this. And to those of you watching this in the future on YouTube, I hope you enjoyed it as well.
can you promise the viewers and me that you'll get a new camera for your dog for future episodes?
I will say I am working on it. For now, I leave you with. Oh no, he's too far over. He moved. He moved.
He just blends into the
Sleeping
cage.
puppy.
That's a good note to end on.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Aww.